Hello, my name's Niranjan, the host of Master of Your Crafts podcast. Learning from leaders who are continuously inspired, passionate, and driven to align with their soul purpose, sharing their gifts to bring healing to others. The music is composed by Rebecca Everett. Today is episode number 53, and I'll be talking to Ross Wilson, a hospice chaplain, psycho-spiritual specialist, and a holistic medicine researcher. As someone that works in the end-of-life space, Ross understands the importance of providing the best and most dignifying support possible. In 2017, Ross lost his mother to cancer, and that took him on a journey of self-realization and the understanding of importance of a dignified end of life. Ross created a not-for-profit called Bardo Network, which strives to provide end-of-life support through services and research to disadvantaged communities within Canada. Along with his end-of-life work, Ross is an investor and partner in 2 mental health companies and a public speaker. Ross's journey is built on a mission to bring dignity, respect, and natural support to those in neglected communities during their end-of-life journey. Hello and welcome to Ross. How are you, Ross?
I'm wonderful. And yourself?
I'm doing great. I am excited to delve into this conversation. You had me on your podcast some months ago and recognized I wanted to be on the other side of the chair and for you to share all the wisdom that you have collected and all the insight and awareness that you have gained in your vast experiences on this beautiful planet of Mother Earth. What do you believe about yourself? And do you feel it defines who you are?
That's a great question, and a question that I ask, I must say, honestly, every day. The greatest way I can explain it is I finally have found my true I am. And I'll dive into that a little bit. So Sri Ramana was a wonderful philosopher in the early 1900s, very similar to the conceptual understanding of there is no I, there is I am. The I is that driven, innate ability to be egotistical or attached to something, that I have to be something. When in fact, all you have to be is your true I am. So every morning I would wake up and say, like, who am I? Like, who am I supposed to be? Like, is this the clothes that represent me? Is this the glasses and all these things? And I come to realize that the concept of who I'm supposed to be is my true I am, whatever that is, whether it is I am so-and-so. The first thought is I am. Who is asking that question? Well, I am, me, myself. So when you think to yourself, like, who am I? You have to go back and go, well, who's asking that question? Well, I am. Okay, so I am. And I found over that concept of understanding who's asking this question, who is questioning this, who is trying to define this, I am, you become very self-liberated, self-aware, and really detached from anything that the world around you is making you feel you need to be attached to. So I was always attaching myself to like a business card, Ross Wilson, because you have to have some sort of attachment title. You have to be someone.
Right.
But then I came to realize that Ross Wilson, my I am, that's it. It's the simplicity of understanding that to attach yourself to a vision or a reflection in the mirror that the world has created is wrong. The reflection that you see is the true I am. It's me. But that took a long time, a very long time, because I was living under the shadow of family business, having to be something, having to be someone, having to do this, have this many zeros in my account, have this many houses and cars. I was always under that conceptual understanding that zeros in my bank account, as many as I had, the amount of materialistic and permanent items I had was the representation of who I was. But then when you go through the process of life's journey of losing it all and not having the access to any of that, you come to realize really quickly the only thing that you have to reflect is the true I am. And I think, that's the best way I could explain that.
It's beautiful. It's powerful too to get to that realization. I'm sure there were many other roadblocks and tipping points for you of, I think I got it. I think I've recognized what the ego is, and now I can move forward in a different place.
Mm-hmm.
And before you know it, there's another roadblock in front of you.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's the beautiful thing about this journey is roadblocks will come and go, but in some cases, the roadblocks that we incur are self-blocked. We're putting it in our way. When someone says, you can't do something, well, you're allowing them to put that in your mind that you can't.
Right.
So if someone says, you know what, you're right, I can't do it. Well, no, you haven't processed it. It actually isn't a hindrance unless you actually place it there yourself.
Absolutely.
Obviously, in an ever-changing world, there's things that we can't obviously predict nor determine. But what we can do is understand that every bit of life, we're not control of some things. And that's okay too, to detach yourself from having to be in control of everything.
Mm-hmm.
And detaching yourself from the feeling of, I need to be in the driver's seat 24/7. Once you relinquish that control, take the steering wheel, pass it away, or stop steering, you realize things become so much more easier to comprehend and understand because it's so much nicer just to be the passenger.
Right.
You don't always have to drive. You're allowed to have a friend that drives or a partner or let the world drive. You don't have to be the one that is continuously in control. And that was so difficult for me in my entire life to think that I can't have control. You in life, in anything, to think that you're not fully in control of everything. It was very difficult. But then once you realize that it's okay to be detached from that and, come to the understanding that no matter how much you try to control something like the future, you don't know what happens a second from now. So how can you control and dictate years from now? Yeah. So that was very difficult for me too, as well.
Yeah. I think to a certain degree, that is a natural challenge that everybody is possibly faced with. I know I face that too, but that's indicative on the system and the environment that is built around us. Mm-hmm. It's very much nurturing that place of ego. And we're not dismissing the ego by any means, because we need that to move forward in life. But it's been placed in our environment in such a way that it can hinder us, where the balance scale can be tipped too far to the left,
right?
And not being congruent with the heart.
Mm-hmm. So true. Alignment is something that I never took seriously. I never thought that alignment with one's mind and body to be completely aligned was something that I needed to focus on. I thought if my mind is strong, my body will follow. Mm-hmm. And then I thought to myself, my body is strong, my mind will follow. But taking the time, meditative states, just taking time to be silent, 30 minutes a day to align my body and mind to say, hey, listen, let's connect here. Let's put the pieces together. And let's take it easy and not make too evasive decision-making without properly aligning everything. Because I was always like, yes, I have an answer for this right now. It's like, no. Sit back, take a break, align yourself, then reply. And I found the ego was driving me to always be on, always be yes. And realizing that what I'm saying yes to is something that I truly know that won't make me happy. But I was always in that fear of, one, not being popular, or two, disappointing people. That was a big problem for me, is being able to say no and being able to say, this doesn't really align with what I'm needing to do.
Mhm.
And, that's okay. Thank you for the offer, or thank you for the opportunity, but I have to just say it's just not a good alignment for me. That took a
Right.
lot too as well.
That is right. To standing in your own power and going a little bit against the grain of that analogy of steering
Mhm.
your vehicle of life. So often we can position it as we're driving ourselves within traffic. And to be more incongruent and in alignment of the heart, we could be driving without traffic and just
Right.
going with that flow, which is what I'm hearing from you is we often miss the flow
Mhm.
rather than want
Yeah.
to sit with the expectation of if everybody else is pushing, I got to push and resist too.
Yeah. Yeah, I always kind of that's a great analogy, and I always think to myself, it's sort of like surfing. Um, you're so driven to follow everybody else on the waves. You're like going, oh, that's I'm going to follow that wave. And there'd be people say, be patient. The right one will come. Waves come and go. They're
That's
not going to
right.
not come. And coming to realize that having the ability to just be patient and wait for the right moment is so key, because I was always on the coattails of people. If they're having a moment, I want to be part of that moment. If they're having a success, that should be me too.
Mhm.
And again, through the process of the flow is understanding that patience, everything will come to you when you just take the time to just allow it to come in time. If it's not now, it will be. And if it's not right now with instant gratification, well, it wasn't supposed to be. And those kind of concepts of the flow was very difficult for me, because I always thought that I had to be part of the group, part of the herd. If someone is running, I run. I don't know why. I would just follow because it seems to be the right movement.
Yes.
But then coming to realize that that's their path and flow, and I'm not supposed to be on it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, with that in mind, and being in flow and recognizing this gift of the I am, what do you feel are some of the attributes that connect you with your purpose and potentially your calling in what you're doing now? What were those skills and tools, pieces that you had developed along the way?
So, yeah, great question. So in the realm of end of life care and the end of life care space that I work deeply in, the process to get here wasn't through scholarships and studying of researching in universities and all these kind of PhD elaborate concepts. It was through experience. And that's how I really, really found my true I am, is the moment my mom took her last breath after her battle with cancer. In that moment, I realized that the emphasis on trying to be something that I'm not, the I, the ego, couldn't stop the journey of life and the journey of death. I couldn't change the fact that she was passing. I tried utilizing the I mentality of I have money, I have success, I have connections, I can cure this, I can change this, I can freeze time, I can get her to last one more day. And then that realization, that self-realization, that self-liberation made me realize that putting the emphasis on trying to change something that's not in my hands humbled me very quickly and took me on a path of not only finding my true I am, but allowing others to understand the concept too, educating, bringing awareness to the process and understanding it's not necessarily about trying to build the quantity of life, but the quality. So we live in a world where we want more, but we neglect quality of that. So instead of having 10 days, have one day that's like quality, like the most amazing moments. And my mom was very much the same. She says, I don't know how much time I have, but I do know that every day is going to be a quality day. And so taking that mentality, taking that visualization, that audio, thought process, and taking it into the end of life care space to provide people the same sort of understanding in the end of life care journey through global initiatives that we working with palliative care units across the globe to help bring support, awareness, understanding through these journeys, is to really took me to my true I am, to realize that I'm not necessarily in the vision of changing the world. I'm in the vision of changing the world for someone. So if I do something kind or try to do everything I can to provide a quality amount of present moment experience for one person, that experience for one person can ripple to so many. And I was always in that understanding that I have to change the world. I have to do in a global aspect, but realizing just changing one person's perception of end of life and quality and dignity and respect and your rights and your end of life rights, no matter if you have $1 million or $0, everyone deserves the dignity and respect that we all want and what my mom wanted. So the very last breath, I promised my mom, I said to her, I said, no matter what, I will make sure that everyone is dignified at this moment in life, just like you, no matter the zeros in their bank accounts, no matter where they live, where they're from, to do that. And so what I do now is provide that support to neglected, disadvantaged communities that don't have the support. Part of a global initiative to invent technology, invent products, invent ideas to work across the globe. We work with organizations in Africa to help make palliative care accessible, pain management like morphine affordable. Then we work with an organization in the Ukraine to help remove the children in palliative care to countries that have access and are safer. And through that journey with my mom, it made me realize that we put so much emphasis on life, about birth, that we neglect end of life. And so that made me realize that we put all this emphasis on that we neglect the quality of end of life, the dignity, the deserve that we know we want. So I came to my true I am through the loss of a loved one and through the loss of so many people that we meet and so many people that we support. That's sort of the journey how I got to where I am today, is from not schooling or textbooks or studying or anything like that. It was from the experience of losing a loved one and thinking that that ego was able to change the world or change time. So I became very humbled very quickly.
Yeah. Well, first, my condolences for the passing of your mom. But in the same token, what a beautiful gift she's given you.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And I know that, some people would say, well, wouldn't you want your mom back? And wouldn't you want to spend one more moment with her? And of course, you think to yourself, yes, but at the end of the day, the journey has already begun for her, wherever she may be, wherever she may be going. I don't have the right to cut that short. Yes. My ego will never allow me to dictate or cut short someone else's journey. Because at the end of the day, we don't really know where we're going. We have ideas spiritually, emotionally, scientifically in some cases. Yeah. I wouldn't want to cut that journey short or interrupt a beautiful journey for my ego of wanting to have another day with her. So, it happened the way it did, in a way that was respectful and dignified, and in a way that really changed my life for the better. And that's, in some cases, it's very difficult to say, because I became a better I am and a better person because of the loss of the most profound person in my life. It's interesting to think that.
Yes, it is. But I can't echo enough how much of a gift and how much of a blessing that is for you, but also for her. And as we delve into that conversation of the I am, we know that ultimately we're all a collective one.
Yeah.
So even though there is grief, sadness, and in essence of loss, of losing that physical being that you're tangibly connected to, possibly knowing the intentions of what she wanted for you, bringing you into this earth, have been achieved as she exited. But in the same token, while on the other side, because spirit never dies, it just transforms and continues. No doubt she's with you still and still supporting and empowering you, and perhaps even gloating a little bit of this is what he's doing. This is the magic that he's creating and supporting so many other people. So,
yeah, I mean, the funny thing is my mom most likely, and I think she does believe even before her passing, she knew I would never be a rich man, but I would give everything of me to people that I could. She knew I wouldn't be, this glorified wealth person or anything like that, but she knew that I would give everything I had to give back to those in need, because I just I don't know what else to do, because I've always been around amazing people that were always encouraging me to experience and spread and help those in need whenever I can. My mom always taught me, no matter what you have in your account, whether it's $1 million or a zero, doesn't mean you can't help someone. So she knew that I would be on this path, and I would think that she was proud of what I was doing. And in some cases it's funny, because at the end of her life, every single organ stopped except her heart. And the doctor said to me, they said, it's very interesting because everything is gone, but her heart is beating like a marathon runner. And I'm like going, well, that's interesting, because isn't that supposed to stop? And he's like, but it's not. And there's a reason for that. And he wasn't a very spiritual person, because I got to know this doctor.
okay.
And he says, but for some reason, she's not ready. And I thought to myself, maybe it's because I'm not ready yet, and I haven't fully understood what's next. And I think through that process of her heart continuing to go, it gave me extra time. Even though she wasn't necessarily coherent and verbal,
Right.
I believe that she stuck around just enough for me to sit there and go, hold on a second, I'm processing, I'm getting it.
Yeah.
I got it. And then her heart stopped. And then in that moment, I was like, thank you for holding on, because I just needed that extra time to kind of comprehend everything. And I really do believe that was the case.
Absolutely. I find it fascinating when experiences like that happen, because they, firstly, from my perspective, far and few and in between shared. Granted, they are very treasured and precious moments for you. But if we shared those stories more often, perhaps that realization of I'm getting it, I've got it, wouldn't have been so long. Not to say that it shouldn't have taken that long. I'm not judging you in that way, but more in the ways of it's a thing. It actually happens, rather than being completely lost and devastated from a passing of somebody and having that shock hit us like a ton of bricks.
Yeah.
It creates an element, I want to say, of normalcy, but that word doesn't even feel right now with everything that we've been through.
Right.
So I'm going to use another word. It makes us more human.
Yes, agreed.
Because if anything, we've learned that we have such a wide depth and breadth of experiences, even over the last couple of years, to actualize that we have all these other emotions as human beings. So that cycle of birth and death has to happen.
Yeah. And it's so true. And it's such a hard thing to discuss because we put the emphasis on life. You cherish the child that comes into this world. You have 12 people around, you have doctors, you have heated blankets, you have all these things to make sure that this life comes into this world with such dignified way and such love that their whole life is like, I remember the love. But yet we neglect the concept of end of life in the same process. I'm not saying that we need to coddle people at end of life, but what I mean is that we have to shine a light on the same compassion we show a child being born to when someone passes. Because in the spiritual, mystical world, and being a Buddhist and strong believer of the Dharma and the Tibetan Book of the Dead, you know, Bardo is you have 49 days between end of life and rebirth. And in those 49 days, you cherish all the good moments and understanding of what happened in your past life and bring it as an educational tool to the next one. And I think to myself, as using my mom again as an experience, I thought to myself, I couldn't imagine an individual, a human being at the position where their life is coming to an end and they're alone. They're in a cold, dark room. They're scared. They're fearful. There's nobody with them. They're hearing beeps and bops of all these machines. And I think to myself, what if we took the people, we took the energy and light from down the hall to from in the birthing area, bring all those people into this area. Now, if you take the same energy and same emphasis of cherishing life in this world, and you take all of that and put it into the room, palliative care, hospice care, or someone passing, the amount of fear or death depression or death anxiety would be removed because they're cherishing a moment with someone that actually cares and loves and shows compassion. At the end of our life, we all want to be surrounded by people we love or people that share compassion. And the problem with COVID, among so many things, was we were unable to be present with individuals as they passed. Families were unable to be physically human connected to the individual that was passing, from a child to an adult to a grandfather, grandmother. We had to share compassion and humanity through glass, through Zoom, through digital platforms. It's not the same. And in some cases, we have to understand that yes, there's rules and regulations and restrictions, but we can't, nor should we ever prevent someone from a dignified, compassionate death. No matter what this may be in this world, we have to give the people the opportunity to choose how they pass. We don't choose how we're born. We don't. We come into this world from darkness to light, and that's it. But as human beings that grow and become older and have audio, verbiage, all this stuff like that, we have the choice to determine how we go. And that shouldn't be hindered because of the lack of funds, the communities that they're in, the countries that they're in, or a pandemic. Because at the end of the day, we don't know what's next. But what we do know is if this transitions from this moment to a new one, the anxiety and the suffering of what happened now potentially could come to the next. And that's not a good way to start. You want to start on clean slate, you know?
That's right.
Yeah.
Yes. Is there an element of attachment that happens as we live here on life that prevents us from living in a more conscious, aware, joyful state? So, prime example with you and your mother, an element, that push energy of, I know she needs to go, but I don't want to let her go, and vice versa. Is that what life is? Is this timeline of attachments that we garner and we experience?
Yeah, I would agree with that. And I would emphasize the attachment side of things. And the reason why I say that is because from experience with individuals, the greatest fear that one person has with end of life is, there's several ones. The main ones is fear of the unknown, pain. But if pain is controllable, that's fine. It's the attachment to people they leave behind, things that they leave behind, stories that they leave behind. The attachment to, I wish I did more, I wish I went here, I wish I did this.
Right.
And the hardest thing is to tell these individuals, well, realistically, you have attachment to something that really wasn't yours to begin with. You're attaching yourself to a goal of 10 years from now, or wanting to go somewhere. And what you did is you attached it to a concept of, in time, I'll go. In time, I'll make it there. But we now know through this end of life journey, time was never something we had. This is an experience. And when we have the opportunity to experience something, whether it's holding your grandkids that you've never met because you haven't traveled there, having the experience of walking the beaches of Paris or the sands of Mexico, but you just said, I'll put it off until I can. Yeah. The experience of telling your kids that you're proud of them and that you love them, all these things we're attached to because we're attached to a timeline. We're attached to the concept of, in time, I'll get these things done. In time, when they're older, I'll visit. In time, when I have enough money, I'll do it. Time doesn't exist. An experience exists. It's not about money. It's about memories. At the end of the day, you will never take money with you. But memories, in some cases, that are in your neural links, potentially through research that we find, potentially there is a burn of memories in your brain. And potentially, if possible, if that's the case, that memories should be the things that you achieve, not money. And the biggest fear for people is, I wish I did more. I wish I did it. I wish I did this. But we're so attached to the concept of time, and in time, I'm healthy right now, in time, 10 years from now, I'll do it. 10 years from now, when I'm older, I'll write my will. But, right now I feel good. The grandkids are younger, but when they're around 10 or 12, I'll go visit. Or, I should save up to go to Mexico, but in time, I'll save up. Right now, I'm not really, needing to do it. Everyone I speak to have all said the same thing. I was attached to time. I wasn't even aware of experiences. But we live in a world where everything is attachment. This is my house. This is my car. This is mine. This is me. This is mine. Everything is impermanent. Yeah. This house that we are in, this house that you're in, will fall. It's impermanent. Right. The technology we use is impermanent. A new one will come in. Our lives are impermanent. So instead of attaching yourself to a timeline of when you structure your life, remove that attachment and experience. Because COVID has shown us one thing, and so many things. I always say one thing, but so many things, that life is so fragile, no matter how healthy you think you are. Yeah. These things, don't worry about that.
Right.
So remove a timeline of attachment and experience, because I know just from my experience and speaking to so many people, they wish they removed that timeline and just did it. Stop focusing on, I want to live 100 years. How about have a qualified, quality day? Each day is going to be quality. If I have one day left on this earth or 100, each day is about quality, not quantity. And everybody I talk to says the same thing. I wish I didn't put things off and just experienced it when I could and when I was able to. Yeah. And I think attachment is what weighs down, grief and bereavement in families and people who are going through the end of life process. They grieve because they know that this person who's passing really wanted to do more in life, but didn't have the time. And then family will look over at this person and go, I'm so low and grieving because I knew that this loved one could have done more, but didn't have the time. Right. None of us have time.
Yes.
We have memories.
Yes.
So why not experience it daily? And I'm not saying to blow your savings right now, but what I'm saying is that if you're able to experience quality each day, whether it is taking a 30-minute break out of your lunch and going for a walk on the beach, take your shoes off, put your feet in the sand. Memories, quality. That's the key in this life. And at the end of our lives, I guarantee you, everybody will look back and go, I may not have lived a long time. I may not have attached myself to a timeline, but man, each moment there was quality. It may have been small, and I experienced it. And that's really the best thing we could do.
Beautiful. I love that.
So it's all about observation and how you observe the world. Because I just, from my experience in this space that I'm in, you experience as much as you can because you just don't know. And you never want to leave this path knowing that you didn't appreciate the simple things of a bottle of water that some machine made. Like, how amazing is that? But we're so attached to, this is not the best bottle. This is not the best this. I could get better this. And you think to yourself, just experience that you have something that someone 50 years ago would never think of.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, I completely agree. We get so attached to the eye.
Absolutely. The
And
eye is a dangerous thing, you know.
It is. All is well in balance, I truly believe, but it's finding that sweet spot of balance, I think, is crucial.
Yes. Well, it's like a balanced diet, you know. I'll eat, some people will say I'll eat healthy throughout the day and then maybe tonight I'll have a sliver of cake. Well, it's balancing it, right? Life is a balancing act. You're balancing every day you wake up in this present moment as a gift, but you're balancing through, I don't know what's coming.
Absolutely.
Because I'm not attached to it, nor do I have control of what happens outside these walls or even inside these walls.
Absolutely.
So I think the world is very fragile because it is an uncertain balancing act, like a trapeze. We just don't know, is there a net underneath? Is the trapeze tight enough? Like, am I good at balance? So again, just from experience in this end of life space, experience everything as a gift, from the smallest of thing of even walking your dog in the middle of the night when it's cold and dark, and just experience and appreciate that you have the ability to walk. I know that sounds silly, but there is people that we speak with and talk with and support that wish that they could walk their dog.
Right.
Appreciate and be thankful for every breath you take, because some people have taken their last.
Yes.
Appreciate that you can open your car door and drive. Some people don't have the ability to do that. Absolutely. So I think we need to teach at a younger generation the appreciation of having small things, having the ability to even be in school. Appreciate things, from having friends to shoes. And I know this sounds, people are probably thinking like, oh, hold on a second, this sounds like some sort of weird utopia movie or something, but it's not, because this is the world we live in. And the reason why there's anger is because we're so attached to the I and so attached to complaining that we neglect the appreciation of the small things.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. The being in a place of gratitude for that one moment.
Absolutely.
Dismisses the I in its entirety.
100%.
The two energies and frequencies will not reside. It's universal law. You can try it. Won't work.
Exactly.
So my bigger question to you is, as you've delved into and unraveled so much from your experiences, be it with your mom or afterwards or even before that, where are you going to go from here? What's next for you?
I hope that each day I wake, I'm able to provide the dignity, respect, the support, and care that my mom had to people and individuals that are unable to afford it, that are unable to access it, who are in communities that are at disadvantage, neglected, who are in communities that don't have the accessibility to literature and verbiage and understanding in their mother language or their birth language. All I want to do is, each person that I come across, I will treat as my mother. And I wish to do as much as I can with that, and to provide that level of support and dignity that my mom was shown to everybody that doesn't have the accessibility.
Beautiful. What a beautiful opportunity and an experience not only for you, but for all those other beautiful souls who want to be seen, who want to be heard, who want to be felt by this beautiful presence that you have. So,
well,
what
likewise,
a gift.
likewise, what you're doing is in the same concept. You're providing hope, you're providing guidance, you're providing a pathway for others to follow. And realistically, in a world that has so many pathways, you're creating ones that are filled with compassion and hope. So I thank you for that, because the world is a better place thanks to you.
Well, and you. So we do it together. We do it as a
Absolutely.
collective, right? Thank you so much, Ross. What an enriching conversation. I could ask you a ton of more questions, but we will possibly save that for another time. Absolutely. But thank
Sounds
you. Thank
good.
you
I would
so
love
much.
that. You're so welcome. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank you. I'm Naranjan, and you've been listening to Master of Your Crafts podcast. Please subscribe, rate, and review, and join me next week for another episode. Thank you for listening.